me get, Joe just, the
Okay.
sign-in sheet.
It's just the way I don't know anything.
Agenda, the minutes and the welcome guide are attached on there. And I'll be sending digital copies to everybody after
That's
the meeting.
why I think we did.
Welcome, guys.
Here's the sign-in sheet.
But I don't think that's the only reason. I think they
Robbie, how
like
about
me.
that meeting last night?
So I
watched
thank
it.
them.
Did you see the end?
Okay,
Okay, you ready to roll?
yeah, I think we're set.
All right, well, let's call the meeting to order. Thanks, everybody, for your attendance. We'll start with the roll call. Robbie, do you have the roll? I don't have the roll call here.
Yes, I think Joe is just signing it, so.
Oh, okay. All right, so we're just gonna do sign in rather than,
Yes.
okay.
Mark Vance?
Very good. Excellent. Okay, and then next on the agenda is our meeting minutes from June 22nd. Were there any questions or comments on those minutes? All right.
Make one point
Okay.
to the commissioners, if it would be okay, all of our meetings are recorded, and available on YouTube, so oftentimes the minutes may be abbreviated because I can send a link to the commissioners for the comprehensive minutes if they would like to see it.
Okay. All right, very good. Is there a motion on the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
In a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Okay, new business. I'll turn this one over to Ravi for the welcome guide.
Sure, so the commissioners all have a copy of the welcome guide, which really, right now, wanted to just kind of introduce and have the commissioners review that for the next meeting. Specifically, if there are questions, concerns, or items that may seem confusing or require further clarification, please don't hesitate, to reach out, and we can get a lot of that perhaps shored up before the next meeting. But really, I wanted to just highlight a couple things inside of the welcome guide. So there are provisions per the city code that outlines what the duties and obligations are of the commission, along with the representation of, the commissioners as well, whom they represent. Brief summary of what is TIF and the eligible costs of TIF along with the project application, as well as a process map. I know there were some questions regarding, what the process is, from the development side, from the staff side, and how that process works. So there is an outline of a process map, along with some of this may seem familiar in terms of the maps on the TIF districts report, but I've also added what the annual increment collected on there is, as well as the estimated cash remaining in each of the TIFs. And then also projects that we currently have are also listed within those TIFs, if there are projects that are currently happening in those TIFs. And then finally, for the commissioner's review is the activity of the last 5 years, in the TIFs. So all the projects that we've associated and their respective ordinance numbers are also listed there as well. So just kind of wanted to welcome the commissioners. We have a few new commissioners as well, just to better understand, roles, responsibilities, and the overall goal of the commission. So.
Very good. Any questions for Ravi?
Mark, I just have a comment.
Sure.
Robbie, just thank you for this. This is amazing. This is, to do all this in less than a month, I think it was. So knowing that you are also short-staffed. So this is fabulous, and we'll take a good look at it. And I think it's exactly what I had in mind. I mean, it really gives a great overview. So thank you so much for your hard work on this.
Thank you, commissioners.
All right, thank you. Ravi, can I get one of those packets?
Yeah,
It looks like my deck doesn't have that
Yes.
in it. Thank you. Okay, very good. We'll move on to Pgav Planners. And Ravi, did you have anything to say before we introduce Adam?
Just that, Adam Stroud is representing Pgav Planners. So Pgav is the consultant firm that the city has on specifically TIF. When we induce a TIF, when we extend a boundary of the TIF, when we extend the TIF, the joint review board meetings the consultant is present at. So the city has, a contract with PGAV specifically regarding whenever we, develop a redevelopment plan or initiate or induce a TIF, like I had mentioned. So I'll let Adam Stroud, speak more about what the PJV does and what his role specifically in interaction with the city is.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me. We've been working with Springfield for a long time. Myself personally, maybe 3 or 4 years, but PGAV goes back probably 40 years. Long time. So just super excited to be here and to be engaged by the city of Springfield on an hourly basis. Just whatever questions Ravi has, whatever questions the mayor or Jim have, and I think that also applies to questions that arrive at this body to be filtered through the city. Probably at some point make it to my desk, and just helping Ravi comply with the statute. Super boring, but it's very important that we do that. Making sure that the processes for creating, running, closing, extending TIFs, all of those sorts of things comply with the statute. That's the sort of service that we offer the city. We also do like business districts and comprehensive planning and all of that kind of stuff. But specifically for Springfield, it's been mostly TIF and understanding the statute. Any questions for me? And if you don't right now, send them to Ravi, and they might, yeah.
One. I'm blanking on the name of the report, but I think it's my understanding that generally we're required to do something impediment report, barrier impediments to something report as part of the
As part of the TIF.
like a HUD guideline, maybe.
It might be. I'm not familiar with what you're
Okay, so
referencing.
it's not for TIF.
So
but-
reports on the TIF, from the TIF standpoint, are your annual reports, which are published every year. They follow the city's fiscal year and what happened within that fiscal year related to TIF. It gives you things, it's actually a wealth of knowledge, and I
Right, I've read them.
definitely encourage you to take a look at those and ask some questions related to that and see how much more you can get out of those annual reports, because they're really good. And then there's the annual Joint Review Board meeting, where that's where you'll see the annual reports and kind of get a feel for what that is. But those are the only reports that I'm familiar with, other than like creating a new TIF will require a
Sure.
plan and those sorts of things. So
No, I'm just
I'm sorry, I'm
blanking
not
on the
familiar with that.
terminology, but I thought it must be just with HUD and not necessarily with TIF. Ravi, have you heard of it? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, there's a report. I'm not intimately familiar with it, Sheila, but I can get back to you on that.
Something
Yeah.
with the word impediments in it.
Sure.
It's about impediments to, I think it goes along with the annual report or something.
Okay.
I've just never seen us do it. I've
Yeah.
read about them from other, in other, I don't know, cities and stuff that
Okay.
I've read these reports, but I've never seen us do one. So I guess I just was curious on that.
And it might be something that's not statutorily required, but that the city decided to do, maybe as a local policy
And they don't
issue.
do it.
Maybe. I don't know.
I don't think they do it. So, all right, thank you.
And so I guess so do you get into the weeds? You probably don't get into each individual transaction that we do. It's more the bigger picture of
Right.
each TIF. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, what's TIF eligible, what's not, which is kind of always a question, and it seems like there's always one cost that is sort of like borderline. It's kind of in that gray area, how do we deal with that? So those are the sorts of questions that we help the city with.
Okay.
Any other questions for me?
And I did include, just one thing, I did include in the welcome guide a link to the what Adam was alluding to.
We're actually recording. Thank you so much.
Sorry about that. I did include the link to the annual Joint Review Board reports that we submit to the Comptroller's office, and that are published for public viewing. So there is a link on those, for those, if you would like to, what Adam was talking about, go into a little bit more in depth on.
Yeah, they're pretty dense,
Yeah.
but once you find the section that's useful, it can be pretty helpful. So just take a look at it. Yep. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Adam.
I think,
I have a question.
Sure.
Ravi, and this goes back to the questions I sent
Yeah.
everybody immediately following the meeting last month. I appreciate, I've just gotten this, so
Yeah.
I just flipped through it, but there's still some questions out there that are not addressed in this packet. So I wanted a breakdown of the expenses that are utilized from each TIF and how it is determined, what you're going to take from those expenses. So for example, I understand, right, economic development salaries, right, under the city of the mayor, are probably at least some taken from the TIF. I'd like to know, how do you determine what your budget is and then how much is taken from each TIF? That, to the best of my knowledge, I'm flipping through this, I don't see that.
Okay, absolutely. I'll definitely get more detailed on
Yeah.
that for you guys.
And I guess the other thing that I would like to know, and maybe this is something for next time, I know you've been working hard on all this information, is I'd like to know the process by which you track the projects that are allocated, and the status of those projects. So I see that you've listed the projects, and that's very helpful, but I'd like to know, where are we in the process of that encumbrance? Because, you know, as I said before, and I apologize for sounding a bit like a broken record, but this is something I have not understood, and so I'm looking for at least to try to understand it.
Sure.
And if not, then we need to fix it, which is, there are millions of dollars sitting in these TIFs, not doing anybody any good. And so they're not improving the local economy. They are not building affordable housing, whatever they're there for, whatever the project is. The Far East Side TIF, for example, just eyeballing it, it has maybe $650,000 worth of current projects, and there's 4.4 million plus sitting in that account. When I think about the Far East Side, I get very frustrated looking at that number, because that money isn't working for the community, and frankly, taxing bodies like the Park District give up their funds to build that up so that it will positively impact those neighborhoods. That is the deal, and yet here it sits. So until somebody, I'm gonna ask every month, until somebody can explain to me why we're sitting on $4.5 million in the Far East Side TIF, and it's consistent through all the TIFs, pretty much, that I can see, and I'll go through this in more detail. But something about this dynamic needs to change, which is why the taxing bodies that participate, like the school district and the Park District, it's why we get frustrated, because the tax revenue that we give up that could be helping the local parks is sitting in an account somewhere, and I don't understand that.
I'll definitely get back to you on your question, Leslie.
Thank you.
Ravi, just along with Leslie's process question, I think if I understand it, what you're saying, I always want to know, for instance, the Ferguson booth. We know it's sort of troubled history and all that. So, I usually follow city council pretty closely and stuff, and we've had presentations by the people, and they always say, within 60 days we're doing this, and then within 90 days we're doing this. And I just wonder, sort of along with that tracking, what, I'm assuming we track that.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
if there's a certain kind of deadline that's then the project is done, or, when is that? And when does, how does that come up?
Yeah, I can definitely get a more detailed rendering of what the process looks like from the flow in terms of compliance requirements that we have regarding, prevailing wage, things of that nature that, the developer must report to us, otherwise they're in non-compliance with the agreement that we have. So I can definitely work to get that to the commissioners in terms of what those requirements, how we track that, what software we use,
And
to track that.
deadlines,
Yeah,
like
deadlines
deadlines
and
too.
timetables.
It's sort of the
That
deadline.
would be, I mean, is there a cut, it's exactly right. Is there, so not only do I want to know what you track, I want to know what is required of them in that tracking process, and is there a timetable by which they need to comply? But I do think that we really need to know that, and how you are determining what expenses come out of each TIF. And I guess my third question is, what is in your approval process that makes it so difficult to get TIF money that you have $4.5 million sitting in an account? So those are really my three primary concerns.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay, very good. Any other questions, comments before we move on? Okay, excellent. Okay, next up we have the Springfield Sangamon Growth Alliance, and we have Ryan and Abby here today. And I believe that everybody has a packet and, just as important, an Oreo cookie thing at your.
Are you trying to sweeten us up?
Of course. Those are chocolate-covered Oreos from Bun Gourmet Pizzas. So I think the branding on there is interesting, that they can pretty much put whatever logo. So if you want to make something for home that no one can touch, you could even have your own name put on there, I guess, right? If you wanted to do that. So is this the clicker?
Yeah, it should be.
Yep, we're live. All right. Well, thank you for giving me some time on your agenda. I'm Ryan McCready, and for the past just over 2 years, I've served as president and CEO of the Springfield Sangamon Growth Alliance. The Growth Alliance has been around about 4 years, and so I've been involved with it for just over 2 years. We have a small but strong staff. Abby Powell is here with me today. She's our Director of Business Development. Also, Amber Krager is our Economic Development Officer. And Shelley Tulo is our Director of Marketing Communications. And that is the team of the Springfield Sangamon Growth Alliance. And one of the valuable things about the folks that I get to work with every day is that we all have different skill sets. We all have different networks. But you talk to any of the four of us, and you're talking to the Growth Alliance. So whether it's not about the title, we engage in a way where we leverage whoever has the strongest relationship with a prospect. That's the relationship that we want to leverage, and that's how we go about attacking our work. So you may hear from any one of the four of us about things that are going on, but any of us speak on behalf of the entire team. The Growth Alliance, like I said, was started about 4 years ago. We are a public-private partnership, so we are not a unit of government. Where sometimes, because Springfield or Sangamon County is in our name, sometimes it's easy to assume that we're part of city government or part of county government. We are what is commonly called an economic development organization, or an EDO. These organizations, like the Growth Alliance, commonly exist in communities all around the country. You may think about some of the comparable communities here in central Illinois, whether it's Peoria, or Bloomington Normal, Champaign-Urbana, Decatur, places like that. They all have EDOs, economic development offices. Thanks to our marketing people, we come up with snazzier names than that, like the Springfield Sangamon Growth Alliance. But organizations you might hear about are like the Greater Peoria, EDC, Bloomington Normal has one also. So those are the kind of things that you see happening. Our goal, the number one mission we have, is to grow the economy of our community. And when I say our community, I mean all of Springfield and Sangamon County. So our territory that we serve is all of Sangamon County, and City of Springfield is obviously in the middle of that. At the end of the day, the metric that we want to watch is we want to see more people living and working in Springfield and Sangamon County. That's the most important metric that we want to see move into the right direction. And we do that through the work of what is commonly called economic development. We have a board that oversees our operations. This is our board member. Inside your packet that we gave you, you have a printed list of a lot of these materials also in the packet. This is our board that oversees our operation. Our board meets every other month in the odd-numbered months, and our executive committee meets every month. And we report to this board on our activities. They oversee what we do. The mayor, Mayor Langfelder, is one of our board members and attends our board meetings, gets all the information about all of our activities. The question always is, what do you mean by economic development? That's not always a term that's commonly known. It can be somewhat of a mystery. The way I describe economic development, how we go about doing our work, is there's really three legs to the stool in economic development. You have business retention, so that's getting out and talking to the businesses in your community that are there today and figuring out, do they have problems? Are you at risk of losing them? Are there issues that they need addressed and assistance with? Is there anything that the community can do to support them? Get their feedback on what kind of business environment we have in our community. And that's important not only for business retention, but it's also for business attraction. Because if we build a great business environment in our community, that's going to appeal to the businesses that are here, but it's highly likely going to appeal to any new business that thinks about coming here. Getting out and talk, business retention. Just like in your business, customer retention is very important. The second leg of that is business expansion. Taking those businesses and helping them become bigger, more invested, grow their employment base, and continue their commitment to the community. In any community, up to 80% of your economic growth should come from business retention expansion. Growing your current companies, keeping them here, supporting them, helping small business become mid-sized business, become even larger companies in employment, helping entrepreneurs get started into business, helping them get the tools and resources they need to be successful, building that great business environment. Part of those business retention, we call these BRE visits, business retention expansion visits, and we track them. We've had well over 35 businesses that we've met with already this year that exist here in the community. We keep track of what types of feedback we get back from them about the business environment here in Springfield and Sangamon County. And then we use that information to pass on to parties that control those issues. Maybe it's a local governmental policy that needs to be adjusted. Maybe it's a policy at the state level that would need to be adjusted. You do not see us, and you will not see us lobbying at any level of government. That's not what the Growth Alliance does. We work hard to inform policymakers about how their decisions may impact the business environment. But we don't publicly go out and lobby on things. We work, the most important thing I can do in my job is to give you the information you need to make an informed decision. My role is not to talk you into something, not to talk you into doing something or supporting something you're not comfortable with. My job is to make sure you have all the information you think you need to be comfortable with your vote, whatever way that vote goes. Now, we're going to root for things. There's going to be things that obviously that we're in favor of. But the most important thing we can do is give you the information, give you the knowledge about how we improve the business environment here in our community. One of the feedbacks we get from current businesses is they would appreciate anything that can be done to improve the expected timeline for permitting type issues, those kind of things that come up. The more predictable that we can make that for them, the better. That's become a bigger issue currently because we're in a high inflation environment and a rising interest rate environment, right? So businesses are wanting to make decisions, get things underway before prices go up. So anything that we can do to help streamline those processes to make them, it's not always making them faster, but it's helping them understand a consistent expectation about how long something's going to take. That's a feedback that we're working through. We're working with city and county staff right now to try to do what we can to help improve those processes. That's one example of things that we hear coming back. Another is, it's common at the state level to have good economic development programs to attract businesses, but we would like to see enhancement in programs we have to expand and retain businesses in the community and in the entire state. Now, that's feedback that we provide back to policymakers. We work closely with the Illinois Department of Commerce and we provide feedback back to them about programs that they create, how those could be tweaked to be able to retain and expand current employers and business investment here in the state. Those are some examples of what we do. Business retention expansion visits are not a situation where we try to sell the business anything. It's just a process of us letting you know the community appreciates the investment and the commitment they made, and to build that relationship with them. So when they think of something they need, they'll think to call the Growth Alliance. The way I explain it is we're like the concierge at the front of the hotel. We don't do all the things that may be helpful for you, but we know people that do. And our job's not to give you 25 phone numbers to call. Our job is to do that chasing and make it as simple as we possibly can. Because businesses are really busy running their business. And they don't always have the time to be able to go out and chase things down. And so we want to try to do that work, make it as good as we possibly can for them. So that's business retention and expansion. That's why it's a very important part of what we do. And I believe that it's a commonly overlooked part of what economic developers do in general. And so I work hard to inform about that. Now, the third leg of the stool is the exciting thing that we have parades for and ribbon cuttings and public celebrations, and that's business expansion. And just by the way, we're going to celebrate retentions and expansion, or business attraction. We're going to celebrate retention and expansion also. Business attractions where we go out and we try to bring new businesses into the community, or where we support businesses that are interested in coming here. As you can imagine, during COVID, there weren't conferences for us to attend, to interact with site selecting consultants and people like that. But that world has opened back up, and we've been very, very active in our business attraction efforts. This is a list of some of the conferences and visits that we have made to talk to folks. There is a term that we use commonly, and it's called a site selection consultant. So in our business of economic development, we know that most companies will hire what's called a site selection consultant when they look to locate a business somewhere. They do that for a couple reasons. One, they want that anonymity, so we don't know exactly who the business is. Two, site selection consultants are experts in helping look for great sites for businesses where they can be successful. So if we develop a deep relationship with a site selection consultant, we are expanding their knowledge about our community for their entire portfolio of clients. So it's a way for us to reach a number of businesses through one contact. So we work very hard to develop deep relationships with site selection consultants, and we've done a lot of that this year. Abby and Amber both have been to a number of conferences, and we continue to mine those relationships and continue to provide information to them about the opportunities that exist here. I get asked a lot about how difficult business attraction is because we're in Illinois. And I believe that most people that ask that question don't recognize that Illinois has some undeniable benefits and advantages for businesses. It's easy to talk about it being a bad business environment, but when we can have that conversation with a site selection consultant and we can talk about the total cost of doing business in Illinois, we can change that conversation, right? So this is where we get into sales. And in sales, you always lead with your assets, right? You always lead with your advantages. Some things that you need to know that Illinois has advantage in. First of all, transportation and logistics. Illinois has more road miles of interstates and more railroads located in its state than any other state in the country. You might have heard that there are supply chain challenges going on right now around the world. Transportation assets are at the forefront of what matters for businesses. And as businesses react to the pandemic and they start onshoring and they start keeping more stock close by and they start requiring their suppliers to have more stock nearby, Illinois becomes a great place to do business, and specifically Springfield. So from Springfield, in a one-day truck drive, legal truck drive from Springfield, you can reach nearly a third of the country's population in a one-day truck drive. That's a tremendous advantage. You can reach more people in one day from Springfield than you can from Chicago, Kansas City, Nashville, and St. Louis. And that surprises a lot of people to hear. If you go to our website, shameless plug, thriveandspi.org, if you go to our website, you can see graphic representation of the market reach that a business can take advantage of. That's a tremendous advantage for Springfield, Central Illinois, and for the state of Illinois. Second, Illinois is deregulated for utility purchasing, electric and natural gas purchasing. And that allows our state to have some of the lowest industrial electric and natural gas rates in the country, specifically for manufacturers. That is a tremendous input cost into their products and their operations. So when we start leveraging the ability for a business to buy their utilities on the open market, it becomes a big competitive advantage for our state in attracting and retaining businesses. In my previous career in economic development, that sole factor helped me land a number of deals. That's a factor that we had to our advantage over places like Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, Texas, places like that. All the places that we all think consistently beat us. That's an advantage we have. But we have to get out and sell it, right? We have to tell people that. You may not be surprised by that information. A lot of people are, and we can't assume that people know that. The third thing is the workforce. The Midwestern work ethic is a real thing. It is a real thing. And having an actively engaged workforce, actively engaged in going to work, is a big factor for businesses looking to come here. For example, we had a press release that went out, I believe, last week and a half ago, about some job numbers for the Springfield metropolitan area. You might find it interesting to know that we have 1,300 more people employed now than we did prior to when the pandemic started. So we have surpassed our pre-pandemic employment rate by 1,300 individuals. Not a lot of other communities can say that. That's a factor I will sell to business attraction to say this is a community where people go to work. Now, having said that, we still have nearly 5,000 online job postings out there for our metropolitan area too. So we still have a lot of positions that need filled. Every business we meet with is looking for workers, but we are surpassing that and people are coming back to work. Now that demand for labor has had an impact on wages here locally, in a positive way for the worker. I don't know if it's a positive way for the employer. You know, wages are interesting. Depending on whether you're paying them or receiving them determines, you know, how attracted you are to wage increases. But the average hourly wage at a private employer in our community is now $30 an hour. That's gone up $5 an hour since the pandemic started. It's a 20% increase in the average hourly wage at a private employer. The next question people say is, why work at so-and-so? I only make $15 an hour, those kind of things. Well, I'm not saying for your job, but for jobs that are available out there. Best example I can give you is I have firsthand information about a gentleman that recently went to Lincoln Land Community College, got his CDL certificate through their truck driving program. I think it took 6 weeks. The job offers he was getting before he got done with the class were between $27 and $30 an hour. So there are definitely opportunities out there, and that number seems pretty consistent. Now, both those numbers are developed by the Federal Bureau of Labor Statistics. I just grabbed them off their website. They're not numbers the Growth Alliance made up with some of our own math. These are federal data sources, and I'm happy to provide links to any of you. Those are advantages that Illinois has and that we continue to market and we continue to push forward. We are not going to act like we can't be successful in business attraction because we were in Illinois. That's not going to be an excuse for the Growth Alliance, and it will not be an excuse for our community for us to not be successful. We'll continue to get out there and keep telling that story. We have a lot of work to do on brand awareness. We have to get out there and tell the story of Springfield, and we are doing that and actively engaged in that. Specifically related to the city, the Growth Alliance contract with a company called Nextsite. Nextsite is a commercial development consulting firm. And what Nextsite can do for us is they have a relationship with national developers and national site selectors, primarily in restaurant, retail, entertainment, and some residential. This type of economic development, that retail restaurant economic development, is a really specific skill set. So when the Growth Alliance looked at trying to attract those type of businesses, my choice was to try to bring somebody on staff that would have this expertise, or to go out and procure it from a professional firm. And so we contracted with Nextsite to get out and market this community to these types of opportunities, focusing in Springfield on the harder to develop areas of the community where we haven't seen rapid development. The way Nextsite works is we pay a subscription fee, and then if they land a business to come here. They are paid a much smaller finder's fee, so to speak, after the business is open, operating, and paying employees. So their interest is to land as many of these opportunities here as possible. Now, an important distinction I want you to know is that they are not licensed realtors. They are not brokers. They do not have any on staff, and that's on purpose. So the way this would work hypothetically is pick any one of these businesses up there. Let's pick one we don't have.
Publix.
Yep. So if they were going out and talking to a developer with Publix, and Publix was interested in a currently open site in a strip mall here in Springfield, what they would do is they would use their data sources and information they have about a community to get Publix interested in the community. Once they identified a site, Publix would work directly with whoever controls the site, whoever broker or property owner that is, and they would negotiate that deal. And so the local realtor, broker, or whatever does not get cut out of anything. That commission is all still paid there. Next Site's compensated from the Growth Alliance. So they have no compensation that's related to that specific transaction that happens with that site. Next Site has some really interesting data. And maybe sometime we can come back and even talk specifically about this, drill down on this a little bit more. But for example, they track what's called customer journey information. They can tell us in tremendous detail the kind of people that are visiting any geographic location. They can tell us 49 or 60 places they went before that. They went there, and they can tell us what 60 places they went after that. They can tell us what zip code those people live in. They can demographically tell us what their income range is. At first, the data is impressive, and in a minute here, it's going to get real scary when it sinks into just how much people know about where you're going and what you do. They use this information to be able to tell national developers the story of our community. So instead of someone looking up our metropolitan area and looking at the county-wide population, and there were 200,000 people, and saying that's how many people live here, that's how many people we have here to sell our goods and services to, what Next Site will tell them is actually 500,000 people trade money for goods and services in this community. It's a much bigger number than that. And when we look at examples here of where people come from, where they shop, and they can tell that company, look, we know that you like to sell to this demographic of individuals. We can take you right there. The second thing they do is they do what's called gap analysis. So the way gap analysis works is we look at what the demand is for any given product. So let's say furniture, for example, hypothetically. We can tell how much money people in our zip codes are spending on furniture, or we can tell how much of that money is being spent on zip codes outside of our community. That's a gap, that's leakage, right? So that's sales tax we're losing because they're going somewhere else to spend that money. They can use that gap analysis to go to a furniture retailer and say, look, there's an opportunity here in this market. There's a demand that's not being met. There's an opportunity there. Also, they can use that same data to go to local entrepreneurs to say, look, we see a gap here in this community for these types of goods and services. If someone here starts a business to access that gap, there's an opportunity there for you to be profitable by looking at that. So this information isn't just good for attracting people in, it's also good for entrepreneurs and available to them also. That's an example of some of the things we can do with Next Site. Next Site now has been actively going to, they've been out to the ICSC show, the International Council of Shopping Centers show, marketing the community. Also, they did sign with some other communities outside of Springfield. The arrangement with Next Site for the city of Springfield is paid by the Growth Alliance due to the city of Springfield's contribution to us, but the other communities around the county have to pay them separately to be part of Next Site. And about 4 to 6 other communities around the county have contracted with them also to help with development. As far as selling that community marketing and branding is a very important thing that we do in economic development. It matters for a number of reasons. First of all, as from a business attraction and retention standpoint, businesses know they have to have a great community to attract and retain top talent in their businesses. Being able to retain talent is the most important thing for a business because it doesn't matter if there's no taxes and a free land or a free building. They can't get workers. They're not going to come to a community and not going to stay in a community. However, it's really hard for any one business to sell the community. They can tell a potential employee what's the salary, what's the benefits, what the office looks like, those types of things, but it's really hard for them to sell the entire community. And that's where community marketing and branding comes in. So we develop information that can be utilized for businesses to help with their employee attraction and recruitment. In your folder, you have a copy of what's called the Thrive Book. This was our first piece of collateral that we put together. This is available online also on our website. This is a lifestyle piece. There's no advertisements in there. All it does is give you an idea. If you were thinking about moving to our community, this is something you can look at to find out what it feels like and looks like to live here. Businesses and their HR departments are using this rapidly. Realtors are using this. This resource is spreading quickly. I'm happy to deliver a box of them to anybody that would like them. It's a very, very useful tool. It also becomes a way for us to be able to help control the image of our community going forward. So if you're thinking about moving to Springfield and you go on Google and type in Springfield, Illinois, through the magics of digital marketing, those algorithms can be influenced to try to get the right things to the top of that page. And that's one of the things that we actively do through community marketing. Thrive and SPI is the name of our campaign. These are some examples of where you're going to see these advertisements. I will tell you that we started this campaign in September of 2020. You might remember in the fall of 2020, there was a pandemic and this somewhat talked about election that went on in the fall of 2020. So a lot of the efforts got covered up somewhat, but that's okay. Give us time to sharpen our axe and move forward. But in the first full year of the campaign in 2021, we had over 6.2 million views of our digital marketing efforts and over 2.2 million views of our marketing videos that we developed on YouTube. And over 2/3 of those were from people outside of our region. So we do feel like we're getting good metrics in return on our marketing effort. That doesn't mean we stop. This has to be something that our community keeps going on. Community marketing is also important to improve our self-talk of our community. I tell my kids, what you think becomes what you say, and what you say becomes what you do. If you think negative things, you're going to say them, and you're going to do negative things. Community is the same way. So the reason it matters is we want a positive image of our own community for the folks that live here. We want to make sure that they know about the assets. It doesn't mean we ignore our problems. This means that we address them and find a way to improve upon them. But we do have to improve the self-talk of our community. I know that if I have a business come visit or a site selector come visit Springfield, they'll tell me they're going to be here on Wednesday. I know they show up Monday and Tuesday, and they go around town and talk to random people about what they think about the community. They know what I'm going to tell them. We're going to tell them this is the best place in the world for them to be. But they go out and they get their own impression by talking to the wait staff, the store clerks, people they bump into on the street that they chat with, people in coffee shops. That's how they figure out what we think about our own community. And that it greatly influences their decision on where they go. Right now, you're probably also excited. You're asking, what can I do to help in all your free time, right? Because you have a lot of free time. What you could do to help is sign up to be a Thrive Ally. Thrive Allies are people that we have gathered together to be ambassadors for our community. And what they do is they give us information about themselves, just what they want to share, about their areas of interest, a photo, and we list them on our website as Thrive Allies, and they decide how they would like to be contacted. Maybe it's just email. Maybe it's email and social media. But they agree to be a resource to other people to enter and get connected in the community. For example, you might be an expert on the running clubs or local theater or the food scene, or maybe your faith is very important to you and you want to offer to be a connected resource into that. If you think about moving new to a community and you go to work and, right, we get to know all the people at work, but outside of work, we want to do other things. And we may not want to talk to the people we work with about what our other areas of interest are. This is an opportunity for people to make that connection. And the reason that matters is because we get people here, and we're all going to get phone calls about a job in some other town or some other opportunity. But if you have strong relationships in a community, it makes you stickier, right? It increases the likelihood that you're going to stay in our community. So the Thrive Ally program is helpful for people that are new here, but also for people that are here right now that are trying to get connected in different parts of the community. It's free to sign up. There's about 30 minutes of training that we'll do online with you. You'll get a really cool t-shirt to go with it. And we're having the Thrive Ally Night at the Lucky Horseshoe Games on the 27th. Invite you out there. You and a guest out there. You can come out, meet other allies, meet our board, have a hot dog, cold beverage of your choice, and experience some great baseball and have a good time too. So the Thrive Allies program is a very important part of what we're doing going forward. Here's a little more information. There's information in your packet about becoming a Thrive Ally. This gentleman is showing what this awesome t-shirt looks like. The good news is the president CEO didn't pick out the quality of the fabric for the t-shirt because I tend to be very fiscally conservative. So it's actually a really nice t-shirt. It's really soft and comfortable to wear. So we hope that you'll consider doing that or consider having that opportunity. Our Thrive and SPI YouTube channel has all the videos on there that I spoke about. The majority of these videos are 60 to 90 seconds in length because they're good to put out on social media. We do have a 10-minute long video that gets in great detail about the business community here. I think it's very interesting. People thinking about putting a business here would be the likely target for that video. If you have 10 minutes to set aside to watch it, with your role that you have on the commission, I think it might be beneficial for you to take a look at that. Plus the other videos that we have. We hope that you'll sign up to be a subscriber so we can eventually get a custom URL. I'm told that's important. I honestly are not tech savvy enough to know how important that is, but we're trying to get more people to sign up to do that. Once again, our Thrive book is available online as a flipping book. We also will give you copies of those. Please check out our website. The other thing that we do to support employers is to try to help them find talent. Under the Jobs tab of our website, we have set up a number of programs. We get a listing every month from the state of Illinois of all the online jobs that are available and advertised. We have that listed on our website. You can click directly on a link and go to that job posting or see about that. We set up a program called Inside Track. The way Inside Track works is it's a password secure portal where HR professionals can, with the permission of individuals, load up the qualifications and resumes of folks that are going to be looking for jobs here in the community. So let's say, for example, you're looking to recruit someone into your business. They love the job. You know, thanks to Thrive and I, Springfield's a great place to live. We know that. However, I'm bringing 2 or 3 people with me from my household that are also going to need jobs. One's an accountant, one's an IT person, maybe one's an attorney. If they can find out that there's jobs available for them, then we're all moving to Springfield. Great. Well, if you give me their resumes, I will load some of the secure portals, an HR professional. And then other HR folks in the community, when they have a job opening, will look in there because they know those folks are likely targets that are probably coming here already or already interested in the community. So this is a way for the HR folks to securely share that information. It's been an effective tool. It helps businesses, helps them recruit, helps them retain, and helps keep them here in our community. We also have a portal set up for internship possibilities too, that we will take those internship possibilities and market those out to colleges and universities around the Midwest to try to attract those young folks here. And then once they get here, then we try to make them stay here, right? We try to make them love the community, make them aware of what's going on. So those are just some of the tools that we have out there. I think the most important thing I want you to take away from today is the Growth Alliance is a resource for the entire community, obviously for the commission. We have access to best practices, we have access to a number of data analysis tools, and we will be attending every one of your meetings. But if you ever feel like you would like for us to provide you additional information about something, we're happy to do that. We're happy to drill into specific topics. We're just happy to support the city of Springfield in any way we possibly can. They are big supporters of ours, the mayor and the city council and the staff. Robbie and I work closely together. I think there's opportunities where we can grow the relationship and where we can be a resource to all you too. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us if we ever help. So happy to answer any questions.
Very good.
I have one question. Do you take the TIF information and utilize that as a tool to attract business, especially into some of the areas that could use new businesses?
Yeah, we have information on our website, and those links go directly to the City of Springfield's pages for TIF and Enterprise Zone. Those are incentive programs that we use to market. Next Site also uses that information when they start talking about sites and areas of the community for businesses to locate.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's very, very useful.
I
And
would
those
think
tools,
so.
those are high-quality tools and resources. Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Sheila?
I have several, sorry, and one observation. I'm really curious, I watched the debate last night at City Council for the zoning debate about the Wyndham project. I don't, I was kind of like on my phone, I was doing other things, so I don't know, but did you guys take a position on that?
No, I've been to one meeting about that, but we were not asked to be involved in that project.
So you will only take a position on something that if you're asked to be involved? I mean, it strikes me as another outside developer that has come to town and expressed interest and willingness to spend a lot of money that we have turned away. And there's lots of reasons for that. I'm not saying that, it's all, everything was the T's crossed and I's dotted. But I've watched this now so many times. And as the Growth Alliance, I mean, are you supporting these kinds of things? I mean, this is what you do, right? You're trying to attract these developers to come here, spend money, revitalize buildings, whatever. So I'm assuming your answer to that is yes, you do, you're involved in that, but I mean, are you also involved in the city council end of things where, advocating for these projects?
Right, well, there's a couple of things, and I have to be careful talking about any specific project. So in a general sense, I can explain that if a developer like this one was interested in the community and approached the Growth Alliance, we would be very, very involved in working with the developer, also working with the mayor, city staff, and the city council to try to help them have a smooth takeoff into the community. Now, the way we help developers and the way we work on projects really depends on the project. Everyone is different. But the other thing you have to think about is when an entity of local government like a city, not just the city of Springfield, if this was Chatham or Divernon or Auburn or anybody else, sometimes those cities handle projects themselves. Sometimes they call us in for help. We're really not able to nudge our way into a conversation without being invited. That's for a number of reasons. Developers are private parties. They may or may not ask us to do that. So we are happy to help support anything like that. And I feel like we have the expertise to be supportive. In that specific project, we were not intimately involved with
So
it.
for instance, DSI, I don't know that they were asked, but they, made a comment of whether they were supporting this
Right.
project or not. I mean, it's just sort of a, it's sort of a no-brainer to ask DSI. It was a downtown project.
Sure.
It seems to me a no-brainer to ask you guys as well.
Yeah, and there's a number
I mean,
of projects
but-
where we
but-
do that, but this one we
but
did not.
But you feel like you have to be asked in order to comment on that, to give your, to advocate a position or to,
It's always really important to work, to follow the developer's lead on things. For example, we commonly help businesses find sites. That's a big part of what we do too. And a developer will tell us, look, we're looking at this site here, don't say anything about that. And we hope that they're going to keep us engaged. We have to respect those private conversations that are happening. On this project, if we were asked to get involved and render a decision, make a recommendation on it, we would need information to be able to do that, to look at it. I also think that we might be a good resource to explain when different types of information become available in a process. For example,
but
the
you won't
question last night.
proactively do that. You won't I mean, this is a
I will
major project
proactively-
for
yeah.
downtown.
I will proactively go out and talk to developers, but when the city of Springfield's handling a project,
You're not gonna,
I offer, but I will need their signal to say, hey, come in and help us with that.
I see.
It's kind of hard to explain. Every project's going to be different, though. The Shield Sports Complex, we were involved in that from day one. Spent a lot of time working between the developer and the city council and city staff and the mayor and, working to fashion that agreement going forward. That's one where we were intimately involved. We're intimately involved in Pillsbury redevelopment project right now. The power plant near Pawnee, we are intimately involved in that one, advocating for it, doing what we can to support it.
And that's because who asked you to be?
The county asked us the power plant project is an unincorporated Sangamon County. And so the Growth Alliance has been involved in that one from the beginning, from when they competed for the project. To get the site.
Why?
Because they were looking for sites, and they did a site search around the entire state.
And you helped them with that?
Yeah, not
okay.
me,
So
I wasn't working there,
but
the Growth Alliance did.
Helped with that.
So
And
part of
then
the
you
thing we
stayed
get is
involved.
we get RFPs from site selectors looking for sites, and they list of, we do this many acres and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
Then we send sites in, we market it. If they select our site, then we're already in on the project. But we don't take the lead on things that any individual municipality is working on. But everyone's different. Those projects in Oleopolis, where the village board has asked us to be very actively involved in those things. Every project can be a little bit different. Village of Riverton, they've got development out there. They had a truck stop project. The way I worked on that one is different than when I worked on this. It's really customized based on that. We want to honor the fact that elected officials are elected by people that live in their municipality. And we want to honor the fact that they're the ones that are on the ballot every 2 years, every 4 years. And so we have to follow their signals on how they want us to come in and support those things. I'm also not in the business of trying to cram something through that people don't want. That's not my job here. What I try to do is work between the developer and the governmental body making the decision and try to inform both parties and come to something that everybody's comfortable with. So.
Given what I totally appreciate that, but given what you do and what your responsibility is and your expertise, it seems to me that it would be very valuable to the city council to have you guys weigh in. Just your recommendation, whatever.
Right.
It doesn't mean they have to do it. I mean, the city council is the final arbiters. They're going to decide what they want to decide.
Sure.
But just like they asked, well, what did DSI think about this? Did they approve it, blah, blah, blah. It seems to me that, a position statement from you guys would be very valuable.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, I would hope that the city is reaching out to you, because that's what you're supposed to be, that's what you do. I mean, that's what you're providing for the city, right?
Yeah, we would,
I mean-
and that a project like that, that's a really good role for us to play. And maybe, through our relationship with the ECDC, maybe that's I think that's a growth opportunity for us.
And the city pays annually for your service, not your services, but we allocate funds
Yeah.
to support you,
That's right.
right?
Yep.
So it's supposed to be working like this, right?
But
It's
we're
supposed
happy,
to be.
we're happy to make sure we're providing as much value as we can for those funds.
And I know the county gives money as well.
Yep,
then,
they
right?
do. Yeah, we receive money from the city and the county, and then we have about 25 private companies that provide funding for us also.
Okay.
Yeah.
The observation that I have, and this doesn't, I shouldn't even bring this up because I don't have any authority over this or not. It's just an observation, sort of see something, say something. You have 25 board members, you have 4 women. I think when you say that you're out speaking for the community and telling our story, this speaks a lot to that. And I don't know if it tells more about I think it actually tells more about the leadership of our community than it does who you've chosen, to make it not so much on you, because these reflect people who are in leadership in our community. But there's only 4 women here. And I would also say that I don't know all these folks, but I don't know that there's a lot of really younger people on here. And again, given what you do and what we're trying to accomplish in this community, it seems to me that our boards should reflect, as well as I've made this comment about this board as well on numerous occasions. I make it on all the boards.
Sure.
So I just think that, I think you've got a great board. These are all very, very prominent people. But that stood out to me. I mean, I immediately started counting. Because it's all white men, except for 3, I think.
I should explain how people end up on our board.
Okay.
There's a couple different ways. Our board members are composed of entities that contribute funds to us, and then other entities that are chosen because we want them to be on the board to be involved in the conversations. If an entity contributes to the Growth Alliance and they want to be on the board, the entity decides who they want to fill that seat. For example, Dr. Janet Gooch will be coming on our board on behalf of the University of Illinois at Springfield. But UIS, Lincoln Land Community College, the Urban League, the Black Chamber of Commerce, Hope School, there's a few others that don't contribute anything to the Growth Alliance, but we're asked to be part of the board because we want to make sure that their voice is at the table. Second, the board, I don't believe there's any reason to disagree with your observation. That's obvious. The board worked diligently on at the officer level to have men and women involved in there. So when you look at our officers, of our 7 members of the executive committee, they look to have a good distribution at that level of the organization. So I'm not trying to change your opinion or anything else. I just want to offer that background too, so you'll have that to understand.
I think
that.
it's important when we have boards and commissions and even private entities who have boards that have, what I'm trying to say, required, Lincoln Land and Springfield, Park District and da-da-da-da, that it's also incumbent upon us to encourage them to select someone who's diverse from their pool.
Sure.
So that we can, we can achieve the level of diversities that we're looking to. So that's my only, I really appreciate your, it's great. It's a really good presentation, and it looks like you guys are doing great work.
Thanks. I hope I was able to give you the information that you need, so, yep.
Yeah,
I mean,
Samantha.
I had just a question. First of all, great presentation. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
You guys do a lot of great work. I know, and this may not be something you guys do, it's maybe a question for Abby. You're mostly talking and dealing with existing businesses. What, if anything, do you do to help people who want to start a small business? I know, like here locally in Springfield, we have Innovate Springfield to kind of help with that. But like, if I wanted to open up a business in, like, say, Riverton or Mechanicsburg, it's not really, any, at least that I'm aware of, resources in that area. So do you do anything for small businesses like that?
We do. A couple things. First, we are the only organization that provides funding for Innovate Springfield. That's not part of the University of Illinois at Springfield. So instead of me trying to replicate and bring that resource in-house, I try to support one that already exists with the good expertise that they need. So we financially support Innovate Springfield. And as we interact with individuals, and we get these calls from someone that says, look, I got this idea, I want to start a business. And so we would be able to connect them with Innovate Springfield to help them with that resource. Second, if they don't want to deal with Innovate Springfield, we would connect them with what's called the Small Business Development Center. That operates here in Springfield. So the Small Business Administration funds small business development centers around the country to be able to help entrepreneurs launch businesses. And they have everything from how to start a business in Illinois all the way up to teaching small businesses how to import and export. And they have that expertise on staff that exists. So we work very closely with Kevin Lust and his team to be able to access those things. And what I do is I go out and speak to other village boards and other communities about these resources that exist. We get a number of calls from people that want to start a new business. It's a frequent call that we have. And so that's how we collaborate. I try really hard not to replicate something that already exists in the community. I try to let those entities, that's their core competency. They're really good at doing that. So I try to support them however that we can to do that. I'm very opposed to just trying to build a gigantic organization for myself. So we support it that way. I don't want to hire a retail person and then a small business person. And the next thing I know, I've got this enormous administrative beast that has to be fed. And I don't have the money to do the marketing we need to do and everything else. So that's how we support in that manner. Our community has a number of programs like that exist. Lincoln Land Community College also has programs
Right.
that we would connect people with. University of Illinois at Springfield is a tremendous resource for entrepreneurs here in the community, not just with Innovate Springfield, but with other things that they have. And the city of Springfield has a relationship with Justine Peterson. And they have a tremendous loan program for entrepreneurs at a very, very competitive interest rate. And that's another resource that we connect them with Justine Peterson. So, yep.
And I was curious, like when you showed us that customer journey
Yes.
from Nextsite, how do they get that data for saying like you came from here and you went to Hy-Vee and then we know you went home? Like how do they
Yeah.
know that
So when you download an app on your phone and you accept all terms and condition,
as part of that?
yeah, if you read
Okay.
those, you'd find out that's where it's at. And so there are companies that gather that data and then sell it to companies to use.
Okay.
That's how a lot of that data is gathered. So they're
Right.
keeping track of you with those apps. That's why every time we get close to Kohl's, my wife gets a pop-up that says, hey, we've got a coupon.
Right.
Stop in. So they're keeping track of you that way. It's helpful data, but it's also scary when we show
Right,
it to
yeah.
you. So
And then my last question was, do you guys have, I'm assuming you guys work closely with like DSI and Kayla and them over there? It's a good relationship. I'm
we
hoping.
work very closely with groups like the Chamber of Commerce, with DSI, with Ravi in the
Right.
city of Springfield. Yeah, we have a regular every other week meeting actually with Kayla.
Okay, great.
I mean, we talk multiple times a week, but we have a standing meeting. Regional Planning Commission, we have a standing meeting with them. I mean, if I get a business looking for a site, and I know it's gonna have to be rezoned, I make the call to regional planning and say, hey, what do you think the staff's gonna say about this? What kind of thing do we need? So they're very actively involved in economic development too. There's a long list of organizations. If you think of one that we're not working with that we need to, let me know.
Okay,
Happy
great.
to, yep.
Thank you so much. Appreciate
Sure.
it.
Other question, Mike? Or Mike, Joe?
I can't wait to tell Mike that.
Yeah, he's a taller, skinnier version. With regard to Springfield's strengths and weaknesses and the amenities that businesses are looking for, where do we stand? Where can we get better? And what is it we can do as a committee and as a city? And how do we better leverage those TIF funds that are sitting there? And a lot of us are here because of the TIF conversation over the past couple of
Yep.
years. And the TIF weaknesses, they cut across many administrations. And we think we can do better with those TIF funds, and Robbie's going to continue to provide us additional information so we can get a clearer picture on it. But what's our strengths, what's our weaknesses, what amenities do we need to work on as a community?
So I think we need to play offense as opposed to being reactive. We need to be more proactive, and we're doing a lot of that through this outreach that we're doing. But we have to keep doing that. It takes a long time to build a brand, right? We all have a brand, but whether you're actively managing the brand, that's the issue. So we got to keep getting out there and telling the story. The second thing we can do as a community, and this is not just the city's responsibility or the county's, is what I call site readiness. So being able to actively get sites ready. So there's so much to talk about, and I want to be respectful of your time. But when I receive these, what we call RFIs, requests for information from site selectors, they will email Abby and I and say, well, I need 10 acres, I need 100,000 gallons of water a day, I need sanitary sewer, I need this many megawatts of electricity, I need fiber optics, I need to be within a mile of an interstate, I need to be on a 80,000-pound truck route. I mean, the stuff that they ask for it's different every time. We might get 48 hours to reply to that. Might. So we have to have sites ready to go. And so whatever we can do as a community to do the work ahead of time and avoid discussions like we had last night, that's going to put us ahead to attract businesses. So what the Growth Alliance does is we work with groups like the city and the Regional Planning Commission, and we are actively now going out and looking at things is show me all the truck routes around the county. Okay, great. Now show me where there's industrial zone property along those routes. Great. Now show me areas that could be industrial along those routes. Okay, great. Now where is there a good electric supply? Where is the sanitary sewer? Where is the water? And so we start, layering those things over. My mom used to sell World Book encyclopedias when I was a kid, and I'm aging myself. But remember the picture of the human body where you could like overlay the circulatory system over the muscular system or whatever else? That's kind of what we do with this process. And then we start identifying properties where you have that critical mass of infrastructure to support something. The professional staff in zoning and planning says, yeah, that's going to be a good place for a business. Then we have to work with the property owner and talk them into it. So, but we also have a lot of sites here that we can get ready, that we just need to locate where the utilities are and market those. And so we are doing a lot of work on site readiness. I believe when I talk to site selection consultants, especially right now with inflation and rising interest rates, people want to make decisions right away. And so they have to be able to get that site as soon as possible. That's a big one. Yep. It's a long answer to a short question. But you and I worked together a long time. You knew that was coming.
What is it we can do as a committee?
First of all, speak and act positively about our own community is bigger than I can really express to you here. That's a big one. Second, if you have an idea for a business or an idea of a prospect you think we should go after, this is a team sport. Give us a call. If you were on vacation somewhere and you saw a restaurant that you loved, or you saw a warehouse or a manufacturer, or maybe you go to a class reunion and you meet someone that works at some major company and they say something about, yeah, I'm busy looking for sites or we're thinking about expanding, get that business card, get it to us. We can all do this. This doesn't work just at the Growth Alliance. We can all do those things together. But I think the more, Joe, the more that we can work in advance of things, the better off we're going to be. And identify these areas where we can do these things. You have a lot of great economic development tools here at your disposal, whether it's TIF, whether it's enterprise zone, whether it's the local cannabis money, the state cannabis money, City of Water, Light, and Power with the infrastructure you have and local control of the utility to allow you to react quickly to the needs of business. Those are all really, really good tools that you have at your disposal. But we just need to get out. We need to get out and sell. We need to expect success, not hope for it. That'll be a big change.
Frank?
Yes. Ryan?
Yes.
Thank you for coming, and I appreciate the presentation. I want to sort of go back to the TIF and the money we have sitting in the TIF areas and raise the issue
Can you just hold the
of...
mic towards your face again? Thank you so much.
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
That's wonderful, thank you.
Okay. The fact of, we know East Springfield and the Far East TIF is an area where there's probably a need for some special attention. And I guess I'm asking that the city and you work together in trying to provide some additional incentives, because this money is going to sit. It's not going to support or serve any purpose until it is utilized. And I know, have been here and done this to the extent that sometimes you got to do a little bit outside the circle, if you want to say. And I would hope that working collectively, we can get something done. It brings to mind sites that I know that in former life I helped get in a position to be somewhere. You have the site, we have the Stanford that comes all the way through now.
Yep.
That to me is something I thought was going to spur some development.
Yep.
And then you still have the site on Cook Street, around the corner from Pepsi, a huge area, and we thought there was going to be something there, and it sort of fell through. Is there, and I guess asking the city and the growth development to get together and say, how can we promote and incentivize something going there, because these areas are sitting fallow and we have money. Yep. Let's try to do something.
No, I would welcome that conversation. I would be excited to help with East Side development. And just so you know where my thought process is on that, we want to do community development in that standpoint. We don't want to just locate a business on a corner and then act like I was successful. We have to look at all the metrics, all the socioeconomic metrics of those areas. We know there are census tracts in Springfield where the unemployment rate is much higher than average. So we have to address that from all angles. Any infrastructure improvement you do to support a business should also support the community and the residents too, and trying to work through those things. So I would be happy to be involved in that. We've been actively involved in the CAP 1908 project. The Growth Alliance funded a trip for a group of community leaders to visit the Chicago Neighborhood Initiative up in the Pulliam neighborhood. They have an amazing playbook for how they address
I'm familiar
that.
with the Pullman area.
And to be able to still, let's go steal some good ideas, right?
Yeah.
And how can we come back and do that? So absolutely, I would really, really enjoy that.
Okay.
Yep.
Quick one. Are you seeing interest in remote workers, like, marketing our community for remote workers?
Yes, and right now we're in the process of putting together and looking at what some other communities are doing to attract remote workers into the community. I will say, I don't want to bring up the Wyndham project again directly, but when we look at the typical age of a remote worker and the industries they work in and the places they like to live, I believe having those smaller residential units in a downtown environment are going to help us with that, to attract them. There's a number of, a lot of cities have programs. As long as it's just cash, there's a place that gives you a free mountain bike. There's lots of different programs out there to attract remote workers. And I believe it's an opportunity for us. And Business Insider declared us one of the best places to live post-pandemic. And we know that people can live and work in two different places more now than they could before. So yes, we would try to do that. And with Thrive and SPI, we try to target areas where we could bring knowledge of Springfield, those individuals. So we are looking into remote worker incentives potentially, and hope to be coming forward with something on that to recommend it. It's always hard to figure out what they want. It appears that the housing's a big one, and more people want to rent now than own. And some of that is being driven due to the change in the federal tax code, where the standardized deductions now are high enough that if you don't have a mortgage that creates enough interest or taxes or whatever, the incentive for homeownership is somewhat changing to do that. And that's why you're seeing more of the interest in rental housing going forward. So, yep.
Other questions or comments? Okay, excellent. Well, hey, thank you so much.
Hopefully that worked and you enjoyed the cookie. We'll be back. We'll be at all your meetings. Ravi has us on the distribution list. And, in between, if there's something that we can do, something specific we can do, let us know. But we just want to be a resource. So,
Excellent.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.
Okay, I think projects, we're running a little bit long here. So projects, updates, tracking, you want to go through that quickly?
Just wanted to say that one of the projects that's been out there did have correspondence that on the elevator project for St. Nick's, we are going to be looking to finalize the payment disbursement of the $99,900 that's out there. So that project will be nearing completion here. The other projects, Springfield Electric has looking to start construction in early August with them. Again, that's one that does not have an allocation from a specific TIF. It will be used as a tax rebate, on their project. So just wanted to provide the commissioners a couple updates on pending projects that are going on right now.
And as you work through some of the comments that I think Leslie mentioned and some others mentioned, it would be nice. I think we talked about this once before. Maybe create a spreadsheet for each TIF and each project within that TIF, deadline, amount, some other details, and maybe that's just part of our standard package at every meeting.
Yeah.
And that way, if anybody has a specific, because we may have a different question all at different times, and that way it's just something that's part of the package?
Absolutely. What I'll do is the information that was provided today in the welcome packet, I'll organize it so it's kind of a nice one-pager for everybody as an organic, live document that, we can continue to update, and I'll ensure that it's provided for the commissioners at the next meeting.
Okay, well, I think we've had the whole public here. So Abby, unless you have something you want to add?
There was one
Okay,
last
go ahead.
thing, commissioners, if I may, is our meetings have been, are being conducted, on the third Wednesday of every month, because we wanted to wait till the new commissioners came on board, and we didn't want to have back-to-back meetings. But our current schedule is actually for the first Wednesday of every month. So if it was up to the commissioners to move that to the third Wednesday, or our next meeting will be the first Wednesday of next month, and then we can keep it at that. But I just wanted to, we would need a formal motion to have that in place.
Is there any benefits timing-wise of when we do it relative to city council, whether it's first or third Wednesday?
No, because it'll always be kind of a process or a cycle. So
Okay.
we may hit it right that the first meeting of the month will be after the first reading of city council, but there may be other months where we may catch it, in between.
Okay.
That's to say, so.
Does anybody have any opinions, thoughts on whether the first or third Wednesday is better?
So, I'm trying to think, the actual city council meetings, we've got committee of the whole,
Right.
so they're every Tuesday. When is so does the actual city council meeting change?
No, the timing doesn't.
No,
so-
I mean, the day, the week. Is it sometimes the first week,
Yeah,
or is
so
it always the
typic-
third week? Because
Yeah, typically it'll alternate. It'll usually be that the first week of the month will be the first reading of city council, and then the following or the second Tuesday of the month would be committee of the whole, and then the third would be city council, and then the cycle
council.
restarts.
right, and then you go, and then it goes
Right,
back.
right. So it may be alternating depending on how many weeks are in the month.
So along with your question, Mark, if the actual city council meeting is on the third, is it better for us to do it right after that, or go and be early and do it before, on the first?
I'll defer to anybody here that has an opinion.
I think just for consistency's sake right now, if we kept it, at the third Wednesday, that would give us 30 days from right now, and it seems to be a convenient schedule for everybody just logistically, so.
And I guess if there's anything ever pressing, we can always call
Special
another meeting. And then, I don't know much about what happened last night at the meeting, but I saw that was there some TIF component to last night's?
No,
No,
There was
no,
not?
no,
Okay.
no.
Okay.
not yet. If it would have gone through, then there could have been.
Okay,
Right.
okay, gotcha, okay.
But I think, that's always been my concern about the timing of our meetings, is it's frustrating to be on the third Wednesday, the day after city council, when something's already been done. That
Right.
we,
And I
That's
think-
what I would want to
But,
avoid.
that just the timing of that, I just know it's hard, there's lots of balls in the air, so it's very difficult, that process, but, just
Yeah.
as much as we can get advance notice of things coming up than
Right.
before.
Yeah, we can keep it at the first Wednesday. I think next month's meeting would just kind of be a little bit of a transition, into that, because we'd effectively have our next meeting in a couple weeks versus a month. So,
Yeah, I think I agree with Sheila that, it seems like we get a lot of stuff kind of,
Right.
of nobody's fault, but it ends up being last minute sometimes. And so, we probably would be after city council if we did it on
Better
the
to do it
third
before,
Wednesday.
we can keep it as is, so there's no need for a motion.
Okay, all right, well, I'd say we keep, unless anybody objects, that we keep it as the first, and then, we can,
And the date that's on the agenda is the correct date of the next meeting. That would be the first Wednesday of the month,
okay.
August 7th.
August
Okay.
3rd.
Any other comments before we leave? Okay, well, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second?
All right, very good. Well, thank you, everybody. Appreciate everybody's time. And also Ryan, Abby, thank you,
Yes.
appreciate it, and Adam,
So
thank
much,
you.
SSGA, yeah.
Okay. All right, good to see you.
That remote work thing's a big deal.